Mother, man.
This is A.R. Hayes with the Murder Metal Mayhem. Get excited.
Spreading faster than a case of the clap in a trailer court. Able to shatter eardrums within a 666-mile radius. A podcast more brutal than all the rest. It's Murder Metal Mayhem! Warning! Trigger alert! Trigger alert! Trigger alert! Warning! Trigger alert! Warning! 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 Trigger alert! Trigger warning! This is Pete Altieri of Murder Metal Mayhem, and I have the privilege to be doing this interview with A.R. Hayes. I've been subscribed to his channel on YouTube, A Convict's Thoughts, and I really love his content and how he works his true life experiences into the videos he does on current true crime cases. I was happy to hear that he wanted to do this interview with me. So how is it going, A.R. Hayes? What's happening in your end of the world?
Hey, Pete, first of all, thanks for having me on board with you here. It's exciting for me to be here. Things are going well. Just had the Super Bowl in Vegas, so all of that craziness is leaving. Oh,
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Now we can lay back and we can relax and just get back to normal life and true crime.
That's right. Very cool. Yeah, I could imagine that had to be just a mess while that was all going on.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an issue.
I'm sure. So I got to ask you, because all these interviews I've done with people that have nicknames and such, get this out of the way. I got to know, what does AR stand for? And I'm wondering if it's something cool like American Rebel, Astronaut Retired, or Assault and Recon. So I got to ask you, AR, what does AR stand for?
I wish I could put on that superhero coat and make it sound like it's something cool, but literally it's my initials. But I always tell people, I like to say it's always respectful.
I like that.
AR is always respectful.
That's really cool, dude. I like that, man. That's cool. Yeah, I just...
it's not like Batman or anything, but it's somewhat cool, right?
It is cool. It is cool. American Rebel would have been pretty badass, though, but, you know... Is suggestion.
Next time I'll let you name me. Yeah, I'll let you name me next time.
So I got to ask you, man, when did you start the channel here on YouTube, and what was your motivation behind it?
You know, I had a lot of people driving me and pushing me to get my voice out there because they like the idea of someone with the perception that's been there and done that and been through the system.
Exactly.
I believe I started working on it on August of last year, so I'm still relatively new, probably 4 solid months into doing what I'm doing and going with the grind. You know how that goes. It's fun, but you just got to continue to work. So
it is a lot of work. It's not all glitz. It's not all glitz and glamour. That's for damn sure.
No, and you know, the wife wants you to work hard in life, and she looks at me doing this and says, I'm not sure that counts, but
right.
I'm trying.
Right. I hear that. Well, like I was telling you before we started, I'm semi-retired now. I worked the same job for 30 years. I still do it part-time, but now that I've got more time to devote, that's when I sunk in and started doing ours in December. So I've, only two months in doing it hardcore, although we've had a channel since we started. Thank you. Things have been going really well. I've been really happy with it. So I'm anxious to get out there and meet the different creators that I admire. And that's why I asked you to come on. That's no bullshit. Now, what was the thing that got, yeah, no problem, dude. What was the thing that got you into true crime?
Probably my own lifestyle, to really be honest with you. When you're housed around some of these people that every day you see being investigated in these crimes, And I've actually been right there with them, eating lunch, talking through the cell bars, playing dominoes.
Right.
You get intrigued by the things that they have to say and the things that they've been through and what they've done. And now I'm out here, and you watch the craziness, but it's a whole nother perspective being out here.
Yeah.
Now I see what the normal everyday person sees, and that makes you want to even investigate it a little bit more and find out more details. So
yeah, that's interesting.
It's been fun. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I've been engrossed in it. My dad was a parole officer on the East Coast, so I grew up hearing the stories. He had Son of Sam for a brief amount of time before he got sent to his destination there. But and just grew up in the East Coast during the Son of Sam. I remember having to come in at dusk because he was still out there, and it was definitely pretty, freaky as a kid to hear about some 44 caliber killer out there. So that was my interest in it as a young kid, and just always been kind of mesmerized by it. I just find it fascinating. And I think I love asking the different people I run into doing this, what they're in, what got them interested. Because I always get some interesting stories like you. I mean, were a participant in the true crime. Yeah. So that's interesting.
That's one of the coolest things, is to learn the really interesting stories that bring people in, because it's always funny to see everybody's had some sort of experience in some manner that brought them into the true crime realm. Some good, some tragic, and it's interesting to learn about those things for sure.
Yeah, I had an artist that used to be a musician. I had an artist doing a few album covers, and I asked him why he got into it, because he's real into true crime and he's an artist. But he had said that he was there when his uncle, I think it was his uncle, killed his mother in front of him. And so that was his, anointment into that, which is, like you said, horribly tragic, but he just wanted to see him get, convicted. And so that's what got him sucked into the whole thing. So, but I really love.
And now he's probably.
What's that?
He's probably true crime for life now.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he really is, for sure. Now, I love the way you're very candid with your history and your criminal background, and it is a very interesting perspective. But what can you tell us, or what do you want to tell us about what your time was like inside and how that may have helped you grow into who you are today?
It's a learning experience across the board. I went in as a very young man. I was very young. So there were a lot of older, more experienced individuals around me that put lessons on you real quick. So I always tell people, you've got to be able to learn. But you also have to establish yourself as an individual thinker and capable of staying true to who you are. And I believe for most of the time that I did, I was always very, just determined to stay on my own path. And then when my wife came into play, now it's time to get smarter, better, and go home. So, there's different ways you have to live based off of how long are you going to be there.
Right. I was going to just ask you, I know you did a lot of time. I mean, how much time did you do that last stretch you did?
Over 25 years.
Oh,
yeah, man. Over 25 years total. But my last stretch was probably about 6 years total, with my wife's help to get out and get home.
Wow.
So,
man,
not too bad. 6 years.
Yeah, you turned it around though, man. That's what really counts, because you're keeping yourself busy and you're doing positive things with it instead of it becoming a negative thing in your life. You know what I mean? Because as you know, most of those guys go back. I did training in my day job. I was doing training for hazardous materials, people that work with it. And I've done training in prisons before. And we would on break talk about, how they ended up there. And some of the stories were so wild. I mean, we were on our floor laughing at some of these stories of how they got caught. And I used to get a kick out of it. And, you know, I always talked to them just like they were, you know, a peer. I didn't look down on them. I mean, obviously they're there for a reason, but there were some good people I met there and some that got out and came and visited me and said, "Hey, thanks for doing that class." And so that was really cool. You know, made me think that I'm doing some good here doing what I was doing. So, but I know you mentioned that your wife stuck with you during that time. And it is nice to hear, you know, in a world where marriages don't last long and that sort of thing. Now, what does she think of your newfound stardom as a YouTuber?
Oh, wow. She's absolutely the biggest supporter you could ever imagine. She's
Awesome.
The one that continuously, when I have the mindset that maybe it's not for me or I want to take a step back, she encourages me to keep moving forward because she knows how beneficial this is for me to not only express myself, but to continue to grow socially and within myself. So,
Right.
biggest supporter you can imagine.
That's awesome.
You know, but sometimes it becomes an argument because her opinion should matter more. And you know how men are. We sometimes just don't take it all in. So,
No, we're pretty freaking
you know,
hard-headed. You know what I mean?
we are. But she's amazing. She really is.
That's
so
cool.
I'm
So
still here doing it because of her.
does she primp you up and, you know, put your makeup on and everything before you do your videos?
I wish she would do a better job of doing that if that was the case.
That's great, man. It's funny, you know, over watching your videos over time, like the hair's green and then or, you know, whatever different things you got going on with your hair. It's just funny. I guess because I have no hair. You know, I've watched the videos of the women on true crime and they're fiddling with their hair all the time. And I'm like, God damn, just put that hair away for a minute. But I have no hair at all, so I don't have to worry about that.
I like you, had no hair for a long time.
Yeah. Well, when I got out of the Army.
I'm just having a little bit of fun with it. That's all we can do. Have a little bit of fun with it. And sometimes.
Yeah. Well, when I got out of the Army, I got sick and tired of having my wife asking my wife to cut my hair because I used to have to cut it while I was in the Army because it'd be short all the time. And so I got sick and tired of it. So one day I'm like, screw it. I just busted out the razor. I'm like, that's a lot easier. I'll just go with that. So it was just, that was how I started doing that.
Yeah. I had many of years with the big razor on the head.
Yeah.
The big razor. I remember those days.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No more.
Now, the Idaho 4 case has just taken over the true crime community, and I've watched several of your videos about it, and I agree with just about everything you've said about the case, but what would you say if you were to pick out one thing that just bugs you or so doesn't make sense, what would it be? I know there's so many things that don't make sense, but what is it, do you think, at the top of the list?
Lack of transparency from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Lack of transparency.
Yeah.
This case is one of the worst handled cases I've ever seen.
It is ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. A gag order between this and Delphi, it's equally as messed up. I think Delphi is actually more messed up than Idaho 4 only because people have died that were investigating this. Like that, like seriously, multiple people have died over there doing this, which is just off the rails. You know, it's bad enough in Idaho 4, but that case is even wackier. But going back to Idaho 4, I agree. I mean, it's been really bad. The police have just not done themselves any favors by acting all cloak and dagger with it, you know?
I think it's caused the complete mayhem across the board. Social media, every platform is at a crazy state when it comes to the Idaho 4 case, just because nobody has any truth to any fact of the case.
Yeah, I agree. And you read that PCA and that gives you more questions, you know, it doesn't even make any damn sense, you know?
All you really in true crime are looking for is that one big piece that ties it all together, and it typically comes within some sort of press conference, a PCA. There's always that nail that everybody can grab onto and say, well, there's the piece of evidence I needed. But if you really think about the Idaho 4, you've been given none of that. Not a single piece of it makes sense.
No, and I compare it to the Murdoch trial, which that really sucked me in. You had a 911 tape. You had three different police interviews that he did, every one of them on a body cam. Wouldn't that be awesome to have seen an interview with Brian Kohberger or these other fools that were cleared with a phone call? I mean, the most absurd shit I've ever even heard of. One of the people that was the last one to see them, two of them alive, just a phone call and that's it. Don't want to bother him. You know, he's got other plans, you know. I mean, seriously, with this, I really have never seen anything like it. I've also never seen a case where there's this many screwed up people on the periphery. Like, it could be any one of 6 or 7 different people, and that's why I put out my theory, where I think there was like a orchestrated effort to get them at that house at that time. I mean, I called it my lambs to the slaughter theory. And I know it's usually Occam's razor. The most simplest explanation is usually right. But to me, this case is so screwed up, I don't think that works here. I think multiple people were involved on different levels, from lookouts to, you know, people actually doing the deed, a driver or two.
I absolutely agree with you. And they've done themselves no justice when you don't even release the 911 call.
Right.
You don't even release the body cam footage of a seatbelt ticket months before that now people think is involved in this somehow. I mean, just be transparent and people can start piece together their thought process a little better than any of us can do right now. So,
do you think the gag order's in place because there's they're protecting an informant?
Yes.
Because I wondered.
I believe it's another.
There's that drug bust, the big one that happened a month after this, involving
Jesse James Bader.
Yeah. Now that's a scary situation with that, but I wondered if this had something to do with that, and that's why they're protecting people, you know, but I don't know. I just was throwing it out there.
I feel there's a second co-defendant. I don't even believe it's just an informant. I believe there's a second person involved that's now become a state witness.
Really?
That's my feeling.
Oh, wow.
That's my feeling, because he asked right away, and
if anyone else,
all the documentation that Ann Taylor originally filed was looking for a co-defendant.
Interesting.
She wanted the name of a co-defendant.
Well,
there's something there.
Interesting. Well, when I interviewed Unfiltered Lucky a couple 3 weeks ago, we and I were talking about this, and he said that he heard the very first news broadcast, the local Moscow station, the very first newscast said there were 4 deceased and 1 injured. And after that, that was gone. And you never heard of it again. And then he had screenshots of somebody he knows that was asking this reporter, like through Messenger, if she actually said that, and she remembers it. And she said, yes, I said it. And yes, I remember it. And that's what was going on. And then after that, you never heard another peep. So I wonder if that's what you're talking about.
I keep saying transparency.
Right.
There's just none of it here. And that goes back to show you at the very beginning, things were being said and retracted immediately and hidden. Scary. Very scary to think about.
It is really scary. Now, when it comes to Brian Kohberger, I mean, people take sides. I'm sure you see that on your channel. You got the camp that thinks he's guilty as hell. You get the other camp that says, you know, he should walk away. He's innocent. Now, I mean, what are your thoughts on him? And do you think if he is guilty, you think he did it by himself?
I built a pretty good stance, and for the most part, I've gone at the justice system the most in regards to actually doing the case properly. And in the investigation, the way that this has been conducted, I would have to say I think he's innocent just based off the fact they've done nothing transparently.
Right.
And nothing adds up to him.
Yeah, you would think if they had him, they would be forthcoming and want to show that, yeah, he's the guy.
Look, from my experiences, when they got you, they slam it down right in front of you and tell you they got you, and they'll tell everybody they got you, and they'll show it.
Right.
They haven't done it in this case.
No.
They have not done that in this case.
No, I mean, the fact that they put out a stock photo of that car tells me that they didn't have a damn still shot from a video to use. I mean, why else would you do that? I mean, no other reason.
And
why
and I are screaming the same things.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. But yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence with Brian. I mean, I definitely think there's some things about him and his story that don't totally sit well with me. But I also don't think they have nearly enough evidence, or at least like you've said and I've said, that they've put it out. So I'm on the fence. I mean, I'm willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm just not decided either way. And to me, that's the smart way to go. Yeah.
We got to be very careful because so many people grab and find him guilty just based off of he was arrested for it.
Right.
And because mainstream media has driven everything in that direction.
Oh, yeah.
People need to realize people are found innocent at trial all the time.
Right.
So take a deep breath and allow this to work itself through. Could he very well be guilty? Yes. We all know that. Mm-hmm. There could be just some big out of nowhere bang that comes into this case that we don't know about.
Right.
We haven't even seen a little pebble thrown at a window yet that makes sense. So we got to just kind of bide our time. We got to bide it.
The issue I have with the whole Brian thing is his apartment complex had video or has video. So is there a video of him walking clad in black into his car with a duffel bag and then pulling back in with a change of clothes and maybe a bigger duffel bag or something and going into his apartment? I mean,
I think that would be a very interesting thing.
I mean, if they don't have that, then there's a problem because they have, a video that would be able to really conclusively make him look pretty darn guilty with him leaving and coming at certain times. And I don't think their timeline's right. I think they're an hour or two off. I think this happened maybe 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I think it was definitely earlier than 4. That's just my opinion.
But come on, Pete. Everybody that's found him guilty know about the Walmart receipts found in the house. I mean, come on. We have Walmart receipts.
Forgot about the Dickies outfit, right, that he wore.
That's what I'm telling you. That's guilty by shoppers.
Yeah. I mean, why would anybody buy a Dickies coverall unless they were going to slaughter 4 people? I mean, that just makes a lot of sense.
Nobody keeps receipts. Nobody wants to look at their finances or remember what they spent on things.
Unless you're the private driver and you're using some bogus Taco Bell receipt. I mean, give me a goddamn break with that dude. His wife works for the police, and it takes him 6 days to come forward. I mean, how suspicious is that dude? You see his Pinterest page with the Batchetti and all that kind of stuff? I mean, seriously.
I tell you, if you really look at the totality of people involved in the Idaho 4 case or around it, they all look like they could be a part of a case like
I've never seen anything like it. It's like a big game of Clue. Like any one of them could have been in the library with the candlestick. It's like, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. But could you imagine if Brian Koberger had a Pinterest page like that with a Batchetti and all that crazy shit he had on there? Could you imagine it?
I mean, he's already guilty just based off the fact someone thinks he shot
Right.
for
They would
something.
have already put him in front of the firing squad if he had a Pinterest page like that. You know, it's
there's
ridiculous.
no proof he even ordered the K-bar.
Right.
But because they found weapons at his parents' house, 2,500 miles away from where the actual crime was committed, he had to have had a weapon.
Right.
Come on.
Not to mention across the street at Sigma Chi, they had a couple of them. So.
Yeah, in pictures the night of and the night before.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, when it comes to drugs in this case, I mean, personally, I think that they were definitely in play here. But what are your thoughts from your interesting perspective on this? What do you think?
You know, in a crime like this, it would make it understandable because I'm telling you, the people that are involved in that type of game,
they don't play around.
Like to lose money. They don't like to lose money, and they never let anybody take power away from them. Meaning that if you disrespect them in front of somebody else, you've lowered their power level, and this is how it ends up. I've seen it far too many times. Wow. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen this type of stuff.
Wow.
So when people say, no, it couldn't possibly be, well, you haven't been in real life then. You don't get the game.
Yeah, I do think, you know, there was the rumor that Maddie flushed some product and that's what they were pissed off because they didn't have the money. And to me, that makes a lot of damn sense of a motive of why somebody would have done it.
It would do
to make an example out of them. So everybody in that area knows you don't fuck with us because that's what's going to happen to you.
You know, when people asked me, just like you did, why would I feel like this could be in that type of arena of a crime? Do you know how many people are in prison for exactly that?
Right.
And people want to say it never happens. Well, I was on a yard with like 3,500 people for this exact type of crime.
Jesus.
So don't tell me it doesn't happen.
Yeah, see, I had floated out my theory, and I know that there were some that didn't like the mention of a cartel, but I don't think that, you know, this was done by like a cartel level. I'm thinking more mid-level, you know, type of person that would have done this, not like somebody flying in from Mexico from the cartel. I mean, I'm sure there's like different tiers and different levels, right? And something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it starts with your basic little kid just walking around, you know, and it works its way up to the actual powers to be. It's any type of organization, even just like the government of the United States. You've got the basic levels that work into the state levels, that work into the federal levels, and then they go up and up and up. It's every organization across the board. And Jesse James Bailey is not the highest of people on the totem pole, but he's not a little itty bitty guy either. Right. So, I mean, that's your middleman right there.
Right.
And let me tell you, I know the organization that he comes from. I know a lot about the man, and this could be up his alley. That's all I'll say. This could be up his alley.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you, man. But going to the Delphi case, you know, that one, like we were saying, is even crazier than the Idaho 4, in my opinion. But we've heard about the way that defendant, Rick Allen, is being kept in a prison instead of a jail in some pretty harsh conditions. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Have you learned much about that case?
You know, I do. I followed the case a little bit. And I know what you're talking about with an individual that's not even been sentenced yet, not even been found guilty. Now he's already sitting in a penitentiary. People don't quite understand how that puts that man's life in big time risk where he's at. Yeah. Not only from inmate side of things, but it's also from the guard side of things. Jails and penitentiaries are ran differently. And now, I mean, how fair is that? You're not anywhere near your lawyers. Right. You're hundreds of miles away from the actual courthouses you're going to court at.
Right.
You're in a penitentiary without even being found guilty with people that are literally guilty and spending the rest of their lives.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think it's taken a toll on his health. I think
Yeah, lost like 100
it's very
pounds. I mean, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
I heard the lawyers were to meet with him, were 6 feet from his cell, and he was talking through them through the slat where they put the tray through to feed him. That's how he was communicating. And they said we couldn't show him any video. We couldn't get him to sign anything. I mean, I can't imagine that it's legal. I mean, that's just outrageous.
They have interview rooms for you and your lawyers at every facility they house inmates at, whether it be jail or penitentiary. They have facilities for lawyer action with a client, and they're not giving Richard Allen that luxury. They're taking that away from him.
Yeah, it's terrible. It really is.
Which is unfair. That's unjust.
Yeah, and
it's
the parallels.
I hope.
The parallels to Idaho 4 with that case are just uncanny. You know, you got the defendant that a lot of people don't think is guilty. You got this goofy, corrupt court system going on. Mm-hmm. All sorts of shadiness going on with the cops. I mean, really bad. And like I said earlier, I mean, even more so than Idaho, when you're talking about one guy, investigator gets gunned down in front of an FBI office. I mean, what kind of balls does that take to gun a cop down in front of an FBI office? And so, it's scary. I mean, it really is. And in speaking about scary with that case,
you got to also think about the judge.
The what?
The judge itself.
Yeah. She is.
She knows she should no longer be on this case.
I agree. Yeah, she's out of control completely. Now they've made claims of the murders being done as part of a ritual by people that follow Odinism. What do you think of that theory of that? Some people thought it was kind of kooky.
You know, I know a lot about the religion. I know a lot about the following of the Odinists and the different things that they do. And they're not typically the type of people that would commit a crime with two young ladies like this.
Right.
But you can't put it out of the realm. And also with him being housed within the penitentiaries, there's a lot of Odinists within those penitentiaries.
I was just going to ask you if you had run into any when you were inside, if that's where you had dealt with them.
Oh yeah, a lot. And they have their own time to go out and do their rituals and their services where they get to come out of their cells and do all these different things. Very interesting. I was housed with a guy that was very high up in the Odinist belief. And It was interesting to verbally discuss things with him to get kind of an intellectual idea of their feelings and how they handle things. So it's an odd situation.
Yeah,
it's very odd.
And they're saying these guys in Indiana are like white supremacists that kind of hijacked the religion. So it's really not truly Odinism. It's kind of a twisted, kind of like the radicals did with, the Muslim or the Islamic religion. You know, they twist it around and make it fit their agenda, you know. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of that within the penitentiaries where it became racially motivated as well.
Interesting. Yeah, and the fact that the guards there at the prison he's being housed at had these Odinist patches on their uniforms. I've never even heard of a prison guard being able to put patches on a uniform. Have you ever seen that before?
I haven't seen it actually on the uniform. I saw it tattooed on the neck.
Oh.
So I've seen tattoos of it mainly.
Interesting.
But if they allow that in the penitentiaries to where they can fashionably wear it on their uniforms, that's another scary thing in life to think about. Let me tell you, because they're proudly displaying the control they have.
Yeah, I think the Indiana Supreme Court made a phone call and said that'll be the end of that. So I don't think they're letting them do it anymore. But then the one guard that had the patch went ahead and put a had a tattoo done of the Odin spear under his eye. So, face tattoos,
Yeah.
that's
I've seen that. That's far more common.
with guards.
That's far more common on the neck. Yeah, on the face, around the eye area.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Okay, interesting. Now,
sucks when you've been on the other side of the block.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, I wanted to ask you about Danny Masterson, because my wife and I were watching that whole fiasco with that dude, and I wanted to know your thoughts. I knew we were going to be doing this interview, and I threw this question in here because I wanted to get your input, because I've heard a lot of things from different people like you that were weighing in on what they think. They may be more familiar with the California prison system or what have you, but he's at Corcoran. He's claiming that he's suicidal so that he gets put in the medical ward, probably because he's afraid. But what is that dude's existence going to be like here?
He's got a rough time within the California system. Most of my time was done West Coast time, including California methods and different affiliations. So I've been housed at that very penitentiary where I've served 4.5 years on that penitentiary itself. Different side. I was back in the years where it still had general population on it without all the safety measures in place that they have today. It's a safety yard at this point. So a lot of people feel like it's a bad place for him to land, where right now it's actually a better place for him to have landed. It's a little bit safer until they move him out of that to, let's say, a general population area on the southern side of California. He won't be able to stay there for very long. They're going to medically go through everything that, when you claim you're going to hurt yourself, they might put like a 3-day hold on you, or they could extend it to 1 month, but they're going to move you back out of that. So that's not going to save him.
I've heard that the gay boy gangsters had basically put like a hit on him, that they were going to hit him after there's supposed to be some kind of lockdown or something going on out there, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. But
what's going to matter for him is the amount of money he could get into that yard situation as quickly as he possibly can to the right people. I've been involved with the affiliations that were hired to protect people that, if you had the money, we'll take care of you. But the minute that money doesn't come to us anymore,
you're done.
You're on your own.
Wow.
Now you're fair game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be willing to actually step up and accept that money from him, because I know the people I was involved with will not take his money. They'll turn their back on him in a heartbeat. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think he knows the end result. I think he already knows. So
and he's got at least 30 years of it, too.
The game already. He's playing the game already, as you can see. He's already playing the whole I'm going to hurt myself game, and it can only last so long. But where he's at right now, he's a little more protected than if he went more southern into the lower part of the state. He'll be in bigger problems. So.
Interesting. I heard one channel talking about that they had heard from somebody inside that he's looking to claim he's a female now to get out of that prison and go to a female institution. But I don't know about that. I mean,
it's funny to see all the theories that these people think they can create to save their behinds in these situations. But at any moment of any day, anybody's at risk. So it doesn't matter what you do to try to protect yourself. Any moment of any day, you're at risk. You either have to handle it or you get handled. That's the only advice I can give people. Either handle yourself well, carry yourself with respect, or the end result's not going to be pretty. And this man should have thought about that when he committed the crimes he did.
Right.
All I can say.
Yeah, no, that's true, man.
The crimes you did, and these aren't like little crimes of true crime that you and I talk about, where you go and you take someone's life or something like that. You're talking, this is really a demonic crime where he legitimately hurt people for the rest of their lives and they have to live through that.
Right.
Well, now he's going to pay the price for 30 years in the penitentiary.
Yeah.
People are going to do the same.
Yeah. There you go.
Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
No,
but,
it does. It does. No, I kind of was thinking the same thing.
He'll be okay.
Yeah, for the moment. Now, I've seen you as a guest on other true crime channels, and I think that sort of thing is really cool. I've done a lot of interviews during my 6 years doing the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast, and that's why I've reached out to the creators like I'm doing with you to kind of help each other and expose our viewers to each other's channels. What do you think about the community among the true crime creators? Because I know you're involved with a lot of these different lives and the relationships that you've already made.
Yeah, there's some amazing people that do this. There really are. There's very emotional, very good, caring people that do it for very specific reasoning behind it. And I have a lot of respect for that. I really do. I think it's a hard genre in the YouTube creators realm to be in, because there is a lot of drama that goes back and forth, and a little bit of emotion said in a certain way could spark somebody else's feelings. And then now we have, things being said that possibly shouldn't be said. It's all emotional.
Right.
So I do enjoy engaging with other individuals like yourself, but I am learning also the careful nature that we need to do it within. And we do need to support each other because it's a hard genre to be in.
Right.
And people do look negatively upon it. So we got to be careful. We got to be supportive.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I hope to meet a lot more of you guys. I know that I've already got a few more that have said that they wanted to do interviews like this, and I'm all about it. And I hope to be doing some lives as well.
A great platform. You're offering a great opportunity to come on here, not only to display my own self for people to see, but the interaction that you and I have together to show how this can work.
Right.
And how it can work well.
Right.
And I think that's a great thing that you're doing, and I fully support it. And I can't wait to watch all the other interviews that you do.
Awesome.
I'm a big supporter.
Awesome, man. That's good to hear, dude. So what is A.R. Hayes doing when he's not recording videos on his channel? And at least the stuff, the R-rated version of what you're up to when you're not in front of the camera.
I bet my wife's asking the same question. Why are you, what's not happening? You know what? I'm very, we live a quiet life. We are very family oriented with not only our marriage, the loved ones within the family, our dogs. We spend a lot of quality time together, going out doing things, because this is life. This is freedom. This is now a whole new world that we can go explore. And I get to see things in a different perspective than my old way.
Oh, yeah.
And I also try to dig in and help those that I can find a way to help, whether it be pulling them through a negative situation before they make a bad decision, or just counseling them on some experience that I've been through. If I can help just a little bit every day, I feel like I've accomplished something. So
yeah, that's cool.
But quiet life, very quiet, very
awesome.
Laid back, quiet life.
How long have you been out?
I believe I got out in 15 was the last time I got out. So we're going on, but you have to think too, when you get released, you're not fully out. Like you said, you've got parole, you've got a lot of things on your plate. So even when you get released, you still have to put back your life together, and you're not fully out till you can get that life going back together. So it took me a while to adjust.
I can imagine. Especially with that amount of time.
One overnight.
No, amount, that's a lot of time. So, I mean, I can imagine that had to be very difficult.
I started getting incarcerated. 13 years old is when I hit a penitentiary yard for the first time.
Oh, shit. Wow. Yeah, I guess my only
So a lot of people
experience
don't
with that
realize.
was basic training in the Army, which was about 6 months between that and the training, and that was bad enough. But I can imagine doing time like
That's a lot
that.
of work.
Yeah, it was not easy.
Yeah.
It
No,
was during Desert Storm
I
too,
grew up.
so we were supposed to go over once we graduated, but the war was over by the time I graduated basic and stuff, so they just kept us in stateside. But we were all supposed to go to Kuwait, so yeah,
Yeah.
it
Well,
was pretty
glad
hairy.
you're here and safe.
Me
Yeah,
too.
glad you're here safe with us now.
Me
So
too. Me too.
it's a good step in the right direction of life.
Yeah. But anything else you wanted to add, AR? Anything that we didn't cover? Anything new with your channel that you're going to be doing? A case maybe you wanted to bring up or anything at all?
Well, I'm going to be focusing obviously on a lot of other cases that people, bring to my realm of people that are family members or involved in cases like that. But I'm also going to be doing a series in regards to how to better protect your homes, better protect yourself
That's
from
a great
intruders
idea.
like what I've been in my past. And I'm going to try to help people better understand what it's like to be a defendant working their way through these bigger trials and what you could expect and how you have to prepare yourself to make it through each day. That way they can kind of get the better mindset of both sides, the free life and the not so free life. So,
Yeah.
but we're just going to keep digging in. We're going to have a good time. That's what it's going to be.
That's
So,
awesome. And maybe once I start doing lives, I'll have you come on and we'll get some other people on, have a little bit of fun. I think it would be cool. I'm interested to try it. I don't think I could do these 3 or 4 hour jobs, but I think maybe jump on a live for an
no.
hour or something like that is about all I think I'd want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could do an hour and 15 minutes, that's the time frame of the best focus, the best mindset, the best discussion. And
Yeah.
then come back and do it next week.
Well,
It doesn't
I
need to
do
be
the
5 hours.
short, I do my 666 seconds videos, and people really like the quick, concise format. But some have said, I wish I could see you do more stuff. So that's why I started doing these. But I'm going to do I'm going to call them deep cuts, and I'm going to go further in some topics, maybe DNA, some different things, and have experts on and different people. I've done some interviews with, Brian Koberger's professor, Dr. Ramsland. I've done 2 interviews with her, but it was before that happened. So Brian wasn't even a thought in my mind.
Right.
But I've done some interviews
I've
with people.
watched your work. You do amazing.
Thanks, man. I
I
appreciate
watch
that.
your work. It's amazing.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you so much, AR, for doing this interview with me. It was a lot of fun. I knew it would be. I just had a feeling we were going to have some laughs. And talking about something so dark and dreary, me and Chloe were talking about, it's nice to sometimes laugh because it is so awful, some of these things that we talk about. I don't think there's anything wrong with, having a smile on your face or cutting a little goof in at the right time, obviously. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And I hope that people watching this get interested to check out your channel. Of course, I'll link to that down below in the episode description because I've been an admirer of yours, for a couple months, 3 months at least. And I really like your content, man. It's great. So love to have you on again, and we'll do this.
Appreciate it.
We'll do it again, man.
Most definitely. Big supporter of yours as well. I look forward to all of your work moving forward, my friend.
Awesome. Well, thanks, AR.
And thank you. Appreciate you.
Cool.
Mother, man.